So Inga's just joining the chat and we will get going. Hello.
Hi.
Hiya, how are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So yeah, we'll just get started and
Yeah,
head in for it.
absolutely.
So what's your name and explain to everyone what you do, where you're from, and your heritage and background.
Yeah, so hi everybody that's joined. My name's Inga Dale. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. And yeah, born and bred there. Beautiful city. If you haven't been, you need to go for sure. Um, in terms of my background and heritage, I'm classified as a colored person
Hmm.
in in South Africa. So basically, what that means is that I'm of mixed heritage or mixed race in a sense.
Mm.
However, it's a very highly contested subject, you know, because in a lot of ways, I think that a lot of races are mixed race,
Hmm.
especially in South Africa,
Yeah.
just a melting pot of different people that to kind of reduce colored people to being the only group that's mixed race, I feel is a little bit
Hmm.
inaccurate,
Yeah.
right? And that's just because of our history and the slave trade, the Dutch East India Company coming from the East, bringing over Indian and Malaysian slaves. So you have a
Hmm.
lot of those different mixes of people.
Mm.
But personally, for me, what kind of the blood that runs through my veins is native Southern African,
Hmm.
then also a bit of Sikh Indian.
Okay.
Uh, my grandfather from my dad's side was too. Um, and also, I have heritage from the St. Helena Islands.
Nice.
Yeah, so quite a little mixed breed going on here.
It's a very good mix. And I think my opinion on the whole coloured aspect of South Africa is the fact that I think people forget that yes, we're black by skin colour, but racially we're different aspects. So you can be mixed race and still have black skin because you could be mixed as in like Nigerian and South African or
Yeah.
different places like that. So I think by labeling coloured it's very like there's no you're just making the spectrum very small.
Yeah, exactly. And some colored people identify as black,
Hmm.
but other people kind of remove themselves from that
Hmm.
identity. And I guess it's because of, the legacy of apartheid,
Hmm.
where people were classified in this hierarchy. So you had white, Indian, colored, and then black. So maybe in some ways, colored people don't really want to identify with something that they believe is beneath them.
Hmm.
However, at the same time, it's my belief that the apartheid government just wanted to divide and conquer
Yeah.
the
Did
people.
did the Indians have anything to do with the colonization of South Africa? Were they involved in that?
No, the Indians was brought over as slaves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the Dutch East India Company.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, um, I personally identify as a black woman
Hmm.
because especially here in the UK, there is no colored classification.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that's unique to South Africa.
Yeah, because I always thought, I think it wasn't until recently when I've spoken to like my friends from South Africa and like actually asked about the history of the country and stuff. I just thought coloured meant from an aspect of it was generational mixed race people. So say it was like a mixed race person had kids, like two mixed people had kids, and then that means that they kids had kids, and then they had mixed race kids and kids, and just as that generational thing.
Mm,
I thought it was like they built their own race within that. I didn't think it was a case of we're just going to label you guys as this because of the
mm.
political side or anything.
I think it's also important not to homogenize the whole group
Mhm.
because there's just so many different shades of people within the colored community.
Mhm.
So every person looks different to the
Yeah.
other. I mean, I even in my group of friends, we all classified as colored, but we look completely different from one
Yeah.
another. Um, yeah, but like I said before about other races in South Africa, not necessarily being pure. You can
Mhm.
have a white South African who physically looks white, but if you go
Yeah.
down the family tree, you'll see that maybe there is some black or brown blood.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but yeah, it's important just to understand and to understand that the identity of
Mhm.
colored people and racial identity in South Africa is highly contested. It's complicated.
Mhm.
And, in a lot of ways, I'm still learning about my racial identity. And I'm 30 years old.
Mhm. So obviously you're in your 30s, and that's round about the time of South African independence and the end of apartheid and stuff. So being the generation that is going through the recovery of things like that, how did you find growing up there?
Growing up for me was really nice. So apartheid well, South Africa became a democracy in 1994.
Hmm.
So my generation was considered to be the born frees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, I went to a Model C school in Cape Town. So Model
Hmm.
C means that um, so I went to both primary and high school were model C schools,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of opportunities that were given to me because of the way I grew up and because of the schools I went to and because of just the experiences I had, you
Yeah.
know. So I could go to a school that had all the facilities that I needed in terms
Hmm.
of computers, having access to sports, um, going on outings, or I don't know what you call it in the UK, like field trips,
Yeah.
going on camps, things like that. And then as a child, I would also travel with my family. At nine
Hmm.
years old, I went to New York. Actually, I traveled by myself to go see my sister who was
Yeah.
there at the time. So obviously, for me, being being a born free, I definitely had so much more opportunities
Hmm.
compared to my mother, for
Hmm.
example. When my mother was in high school, she knew her only options were to either become a nurse or to become a teacher. Those
Okay.
were the only two options for colored women
Hmm.
during apartheid. But for me, I mean, the possibilities were endless.
And
So
why was that the only two options they had?
that's just how it worked during the apartheid. That was just job reservation. So
Yeah.
it was designed to keep black and colored people, in
Hmm.
subservient jobs and to keep
Okay.
the better jobs for white people.
Hmm. So, when we spoke a bit about how the the race is kind of interlinked with class status in South Africa. So, yeah, can you kind of explain to the viewers what like that is and how that kind of goes about?
Yeah, I like to go back to intersectionality, because intersectionality is such a great approach in understanding how different experiences
Hmm.
emerge through intersections of gender, class, race, ability,
Hmm.
sexuality, and so forth. So, for example, just going back to what I was saying about going to a good school, that
Hmm.
stemmed from growing up in a relatively middle class area. You
Yeah.
know, everybody around me in the neighborhood that I grew up in were working professionals. You know, you had
Hmm.
magazine editors in the area, bank managers, things like that. So because I
Hmm.
kind of grew up in that sort of class, it afforded me opportunities, and thus my experience as a
Hmm.
colored woman is so different to a lot of colored women in Cape Town.
Yeah.
You know, having access to a good school, having
Hmm.
access to extramural activities, like I did drama for 5 years. I was in a drama club for 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, I was part of a surfing team for a long time. You know, we went to Durban for surfing competitions. All of these things, all these experiences have really shaped and defined who I
Hmm.
am. And it's because of, I mean, all thanks to my mother, because she really made sure I had those opportunities. But I
Yeah.
was also positioned in the right space to grab those opportunities.
Hmm.
And it's not the same for every other colored person or any other black person
Yeah.
in South Africa that isn't, they are not in the right position to kind of access the
Hmm.
things that I did.
Hmm. So you spoke quite a bit about how there was quite a lot of Asian influence and things like that within South Africa. Do you think that the Asian influence is kind of passed on through the class system, and how in Asia sometimes they have a system that's kind of based on class stratas, and it kind of goes in like castes and things like that. So you kind of have to stay within your own caste for like marriage and jobs and things like that, just to kind of keep the wealth within certain levels.
Mm.
So do you think that kind of translates into South Africa?
I I've never really seen or heard that. Do
Mm.
you mean in terms of someone coming from a middle class, kind of marrying within their
So
class?
say like if someone from the middle class would marry a lower class person, the middle class people wouldn't accept it because it's like you're then passing our wealth to them, and then what are they bringing to us? If that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
yeah, I can understand that, because it could be a thing of, well, you don't share similarities or have
Mhm.
anything in common.
Mhm.
So, and I guess in a lot of ways, those things just happen naturally when you meet someone that has the same background as you, because
Yeah.
you're going to the same places, you're
Mhm.
the same people. So I don't know if it's like an unwritten rule, but I do think that that naturally happens, and it's actually quite an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. Because I don't know much about the Asian side of it, but I do know when I have looked into it, it's been on the relationship aspect, and it's been a case of even if they have met through education. So say in a sense that the couple went to like university, and it's like at that point they had the same opportunity as me because we were at university. So
Mm,
who's to now say that out with that because of their class status or their family or what the family's done, we can't do whatever. But yeah,
mm.
that's a rabbit hole of like colonization and stuff. Um, does hierarchy of skin color have anything to do with South African dynamics?
Like colorism,
Yeah.
I think the proximity to whiteness is pretty prevalent,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, an interesting story, my mom told me that during apartheid, a lot of colored people who were very fair
Mm-hmm.
they would reclassify themselves as white. So actually go through the
Oh.
process of reclassifying themselves
Mm-hmm.
so they could get out of the colored box and be classified as white. So obviously they get all the privileges that came with that,
Mm-hmm.
and they would be successful in the reclassification. And sometimes would walk past their family on the street who maybe looks like me and would have to completely ignore them, so colorism and the hierarchy of skin color is definitely prevalent in South Africa. I think
Mm-hmm.
the fairer you are, it's deemed to be more socially, not socially accepted, but sort of a standard that people think is socially accepted because
Yeah.
closer to whiteness and it's further away from blackness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and just the issue of passing in white spaces in Cape Town where you don't
Yeah.
feel as if you're sticking out or standing out, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people say that they feel if they go into a restaurant where they're the only noticeably black or brown person, they get stared at. But if
Yeah.
you're a colored person that's light skinned and you can pass in white spaces, I think that brings a lot of other privileges with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think with the whole being able to pass white or the whole skin bleaching and the
Yeah.
lighter aspects of being lighter skinned within Africa and stuff, I think it's an ongoing thing. And it's I think what it doesn't confuse me because I think now I'm at a point of acceptance, but I think it's the as I've gotten older I've realized the little subliminal things of having to like pay attention when you're buying lotions in the shop and having to actually read the ingredients because
Yeah.
it could have lightening products in it and it could have something that you don't realize is in it, but they'll
Yeah.
just say like enriching cream or like think they'll have little words that mean to purify your skin,
Mm.
and it's that thing, that brainwashing and that cycle that's going to go into young girls' heads and go into their minds thinking, well, if I'm lighter, I'm going to be pure and I'm going to be,
Desirable.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
going to get better life chances and get better jobs. And even if you look
Yes.
into it, like how many people in the west of Africa, like they make careers on it, like women in West
Yeah.
Africa promote it so much. And they'll be like, if you want to get married, buy this cream. If you want to have a happy life, buy this cream. If you
Yes.
want to do like, there's so many like fearing like adverts that they do and like things like that being like, if you're light, you'll be successful. And that's all throughout Africa and all throughout the world.
Yeah, I
And
mean, even if you see it in media, in
hmm
in Cape Town, the models are those who are a little bit more light-skinned, or
yeah,
those who have straight hair. At least, I mean, I think it's changing now
hmm
because there's a lot more conversation around Black consciousness and identity.
hmm
But when I was growing up, just wearing my hair like this I would be made fun of, or
yeah,
because I didn't have straight hair, and I would go to the hairdresser and they will burn my scalp with relaxers and what have you, just to fit into that Western ideal of
hmm
beauty, which was so unattainable.
uh-huh. And the worst thing about relaxers is that if you actually read into them and read into what they do and what they have inside them, relaxers start early puberty. And I remember getting my hair relaxed at like the ages of like 7, 8. And there'll be
Yeah.
so many other kids out there, and it's like these things are triggering early puberty. Like there's some people that have burnt scalps, and I remember like my
Yeah.
mom putting Vaseline on the edge to make sure like it didn't burn anything, and just the whole process of it. And even then,
Oh,
once you get to that point of going natural, because I think that it's becoming more common now that black women are taking it upon themselves, even black men as well, because black men do relax hair. We all know what happens. It's a topic itself.
mm.
Um, but yeah, so like even the sense of people going natural and embracing their hair, more like what you've done yourself, which is beautiful. And you get the older relatives that are like, "You're not gonna do your hair today."
Yeah.
And like they'll just do little things, and I'm like, "This is me, sis. Like I'm
Right.
good to go."
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to do it.
Like
Um,
when
yeah,
Beyonce
and
said I woke up like this, I did.
yeah, exactly. Um, One of the things I think I still struggle with is my hair in a professional setting. Like, what is
Hmm.
deemed for natural hair to
Hmm.
be accepted in a professional setting? Because sometimes I think, oh, I should probably, if I have an interview, maybe I should straighten my hair. And,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that for me, still unlearning those Western ideals that I've become so accustomed to. And
Hmm.
that kind of brainwashed me as a child because all the models and hair models had long straight hair. If you watched
Yeah.
the Pantene adverts or
Hmm.
shampoo adverts, those women had long beautiful straight hair, and there was no representation for anyone
Mm.
that looked like me.
And it's also the fact that like it took me, I don't know how many times we're going natural, but the biggest thing that I learned, because obviously I just was like, okay, I'm going to stop relaxing, and I say I'll use the shampoos I see in the shops and in the adverts and whatever. And then actually looking into it, I can't use sulfur in my hair.
Yeah,
So that's another thing, and having to learn that these products aren't made for our hair, and that's why they're not being like
yeah.
because we're not in the world. Probably when you go back home or when you go into your own countries, they might be getting advertised, but here they're not. So it's then having to find out where to go, what to do. Even sometimes making your own like conditioners and stuff with like fruit and veg, and you have to be so creative about it, and
I know.
it's
That's
such a
actually,
struggle.
yeah, actually, when I first moved to Edinburgh, I struggled to find hair products because in
Hmm.
South Africa they more in abundance. There's quite
Yeah,
a lot of options here, not so much.
it's been so hard, and like I even like I travel down south quite a lot because I've got like family and stuff here, and even when I come, I'll come with an empty suitcase and I will just hop to the shop because it's so
Yeah,
like it's cheaper and
right,
you're getting more for your money. Because even in Scotland, I've noticed they cut their hair, and I know they do this like, by force, but they'll like cut the packets in half, so sell you half a packet for double the price. So it's like I'm getting scammed either way, just because they
right.
know that like they know we're a minority, they know we need the shops, they know we need to go to these places, but you're also making money off it in the wrong way.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like, what if it was a woman that had five girls in a house and she couldn't afford to get other
Uh,
products because the prices of what they're doing, or like she couldn't do whatever. Also, it's so scarce. Like we're lucky we're in Edinburgh, but what if you were like up in one of the islands, like the Scottish Islands?
yeah,
Where do they go?
exactly. Then you need to start making your own products
Hmm.
for real. Um, yeah, but I've learned to wait for specials, 2 for 1, and then just
Hmm.
bulk buy. But
Yeah.
even so, it's expensive. So I agree with what you're saying. I can't imagine a woman who has daughters that, have to use all these hair products. It's yeah, but that's another story because
I
natural
know.
natural hair products are pretty pricey. I
I
think
think
you'll
we should do like an episode with like a couple women or like a series of just not like hair.
yeah,
And actually, that's my brain did
it's a
well.
good
We should do
idea.
a
Yeah,
series of like hair and just discussing everyone's hair process and stuff. Because yeah, like I just thank God my mum taught me and my sisters how to do hair because we can do braids and things like that, and it's helped me in a lot of times. Like it's just even during lockdown, I've where can I go? But as long as I can do it myself, it's fine. I can order the stuff from. Thankfully now there's shops that like deliver, but I
yeah,
have the option now to order, and I have the option to do my own hair if I really want to. If I can't afford it, I'll do it myself. And
mm,
I
yeah,
thank I thank my mum for that.
yeah. Learning how to do your own hair is power. I'm telling you.
Hmm. And that's another one that I don't think people think about it. Like they have salons everywhere. And even like I remember going to the salon as a kid, or take like going to the salon with my friends when they would go to the salons, and the hairdresser would look at my hair and
Yeah.
be like, "So why are you here?" Like,
Right? Exactly. That's
no,
actually
but
that was one of my struggles moving here. I'm like, where do I go to get my hair done?
hmm.
I actually had to message someone and ask them for a recommendation because I have my cousin's a hairdresser back in Cape Town, so I trust her with my hair.
Mm.
The other thing, you have to trust the right
Black
people.
girls have trust issues on hair, really, like we
Yeah,
do.
I have such trust issues with my hair. Jeez, I've just been delaying it. So, references for me go a long way.
I literally like from as long as we've moved to Scotland, because we were in England before that, but my mum used to do our hair then, But as long as we moved to Scotland, we have literally had one hairdresser, me and my sisters. Julie, shout out. She has been for like the past what 15 years now, almost 20 years. Like we have not let anyone touch our hair. Even when we have, we've been like, so I cheated on Julie. Like it's been a case of if Julie doesn't do it, we're doing it ourselves. Like
Yeah,
no, we
absolutely.
can't trust anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I see
Oh,
some in
also
the
another one.
comments.
Tilly, shout out to my girl Tilly as well. Tilly does hair, and she does fabulous hair. So yeah, you need to find these little community ones, and you need to do whatever. And even just like we have to learn how to do our own wigs, and I had to teach myself how to sew wigs because I was like I can't
Oh,
keep
really?
ordering them and things like that. And I quite like it. I enjoy it. Like it's quite good. It's quite soothing. It's therapeutic. So
Oh, nice. Maybe you should teach me.
yeah, we should do little
You
like
know,
wig
yeah,
sessions.
wigs are a good protective style. You know,
hmm
yeah.
Sometimes you need to do protective styles. How have you found the natural journey?
Good. When did I kind of went natural as a person in the early 20s, I think. But before that, I was just going to the hairdresser every other
hmm
week. Um, but I must be honest with you, my hair just looked a mess in the
Yeah.
beginning. I look back at pictures and think, oh my goodness, girl, what was happening? Just not knowing how to take care of my hair.
hmm
It just looked super dry and fragile, and yeah, just really a sad situation.
Yeah.
But I think it took a lot of time to get to a point where I'm more confident and comfortable with doing my
hmm
hair, and I can actually walk outside with pride. Like
Yeah.
it's, this is my hair, this is a God-given mane, so
hmm
I need to be proud of it.
Yeah. Do
Um,
you
but
think that being natural has made you embrace your awareness as a black person and like a little bit more? And I think it might be different for you because you've grown up in South Africa, so you've grown up
yeah,
back home. But I think for me, being a Western kid, I think when I went natural, it was very much like it was like an enlightenment of another stage of black women that I've walked into. Like, oh, I'm here. If
no,
that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said before about growing up and only seeing models that look nothing like you,
hmm
it's so empowering to just be your natural, authentic self,
Yeah.
and something that's unique
hmm
as well, it is really powerful and freeing.
hmm
My husband always says that I look more confident when I wear my hair in its natural way because I'm
Yeah.
not stressing about what it looks like because I can't really control what it looks like. I mean, you
Mm.
can control it to a certain extent, but other than that, you kind of have to let Mother Nature, take its course with your hair. But
Sometimes what it looks like wet and dry are two different stories, but
yeah,
you deal with that.
yeah. Listen, with the right hair products, finding the right oils, your hair can really flourish.
Yeah, your hair looks so beautiful. Like
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
still in a learning stage, but I'm getting there. I've just my hair doesn't contain oil and it
Yeah,
doesn't it's
mine
just so
too.
dense.
Yeah, I need vitamin E oil works really well. I've been using that recently and
Okay.
quite a life changer. But yeah, I'm still learning a lot. I need to learn how to do protective styles
hmm
on my hair. You know, these YouTube chicks, they make it look so easy. All these
Yeah.
natural hairdos,
And they
which,
also have hair that's like this long and you're like, wow, come
yeah,
into your goddess.
yeah, it's all about practice. Kind of have to be patient with the process.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I shaved quite a few times. So I think the shaving benefited it so much. So I think I shaved maybe like 4 or 5 times. And like the way it's going now has been the best condition
Mm,
ever.
yeah. Yeah, I did. I also did like a major chop, I think when I
hmm
was 23. So I cut away all the dry ends because I had dyed my hair. So the
Yeah.
ends horrible blonde color, but it was like really, really dry. And
hmm
also coupled with the relaxers and all the other treatments, that's just not good for our hair.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of other things that
Yeah,
we are doing, you do poetry and your
yes.
poetry is beautiful. It's so nice
Thank
and
you.
I enjoyed it. I love the accent and you can hear it in the background and it's very soothing and peaceful. So
Oh, thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
everyone have a look at her Instagram page. She has some spoken word and it's good. You should have a look. When did you start and what or who inspired you?
I started writing as a child.
Hmm.
I would write little short stories. Um, I would spend a lot of time by myself as a
Yeah.
child. So I would be behind the computer just typing away little short stories. And yeah, I have quite a creative mind. Um, and I started writing poetry probably in high school.
Hmm.
And then spoken word came to me when I saw there was open mic night at this bar back in Cape Town. And I
Hmm.
thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just go and share my poetry. And then
Yeah.
I learned about what I do is actually, there's a name for it, it's spoken word poetry.
Hmm.
So I did the one open mic night, and from there it kind of just developed and grew. And yeah, who inspires me? People. I don't necessarily have. A lot of people ask me, like, who are the poets that you look up to? I don't necessarily have a poet I look up to. It's more the things around me that inspire.
Mm.
It's
Hmm.
things that are happening in society. It's things I see. It's things I experience. So a lot of
Hmm.
what I write about is from a personal perspective, or
Yeah.
something that I have viewed, or something that I'm angry about,
Hmm.
And also, um, because I'm a social sciences researcher, I'm very passionate about people. So a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of shows in my poetry.
Hmm.
But I read a lot of poetry from African authors. I have two books that's a compilation of just African poets. So I
Nice.
enjoy reading that. And then, some of the old poets like William Wordsworth.
Hmm.
I mean, he's quite inspiring because the book that I have, it's so thick and it's all his work,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely beautiful. Even
Nice.
though a lot of it I don't understand because it's in a different type of English, in that
Still,
time.
but the message is still received and
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can get the vibe, and that's
Yeah.
good. If you could actually, when I post this, drop the name of the African book in the comments for people to have a look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, so people
Yeah, I
can.
found it at a bookshop. It was just a secondhand bookshop. But yeah, I'll definitely
Hmm.
post the.
Perfect. I actually forgot to ask you this when I was asking about your heritage, but what language do you speak? Because I wanted to know, do you have a language that you prefer to write poetry in if you are bilingual or multilingual?
It's quite embarrassing because in South Africa we speak, well, I don't, but there are 11 official languages. I only speak
Yeah.
one
Don't
fluently.
be embarrassed.
No, it's very embarrassing. My goodness, I should really be able to speak more than one language.
I don't even
But,
speak my own language. I can barely understand it because I moved here when I was one.
sorry, say again?
I can barely understand my own language or speak it because I moved to the UK when I was a baby.
Oh, from where?
Rwanda.
Oh, really? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm from Rwanda, but when I moved here, my parents obviously needed to find work and
Yeah,
they were studying as well. So they needed to learn English. And my sisters are older, so they wanted everyone in the house to learn English. So
yeah,
in that same process, I was a toddler learning how to talk.
yeah,
So
yeah.
English is what I picked up, and it's just been like
Exactly.
that.
And that's the
Hmm.
thing. It's just everybody around me is English speaking. I went to English speaking school. My family
Yeah.
is English speaking, but my second language is Afrikaans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you write poetry in Afrikaans?
No.
Okay. I just thought I
um,
would ask because it was
no.
quite interesting to see if you did, because I
I
didn't not see any, but I thought maybe
yeah.
she just doesn't post it for people that might not understand.
Um, no, I can understand Afrikaans, but I'm not
Hmm.
I'm not really that fluent in speaking.
Yeah.
Um, But you know, like I use certain slang and things like that that's
Hmm.
unique to South Africa. Sometimes I have to catch myself because I'll use certain slang with my British friends and I know they don't understand me, but it's so inbred in the way I speak,
Yeah.
you
Do you know
know?
what I've noticed? Like within my South African friends, the one thing like I have picked up from them, and it's just in such a teasing way or anyway, it's the way that they say you and they're like, "Wena," and there's so many ways you can say it because you can say it teasingly, you can say it like serious, you can say it jokingly. Like it's such a funny way to say a word. So
Yeah,
I've noticed that like being around them, I've kind of picked that up and like well, they all say it to me when we're like just mucking about and doing stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, South African, you guys have a lot of different slangs and cultures. And I think even with the way that there's so many languages, and there is times that like I've been with South African friends, and there'll be people that like we can't speak in our language because English is a common,
yeah. It's
and there's that complex.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wish I learned like isiXhosa or Zulu, one of the other
Hmm.
more widely spoken languages in South Africa. The issue
Hmm.
was that it just really wasn't offered in high school. It was
Yeah,
compulsory to do Afrikaans. It wasn't
yeah.
compulsory to do um, the other African languages. So
Hmm.
for me, I wish if I could go back in time, I would have done extra classes just to kind of understand more than two languages.
Yeah. That's what I like. I wish my parents were more strict on me learning my language, and I'm trying now because obviously I want my son to be able to like speak it and understand it. So now I've started listening to the radio at night in Rwandan and trying to get it in my brain that way, and
Mm.
just little things with
Mm.
listening to more Rwandan music and trying to integrate it that way and stuff. So
Yeah, that's good.
I'm trying. We'll get there one day.
It's difficult to learn a new language as an adult.
Yeah.
The best time to learn a language is as a child,
Hmm.
you know,
And
because you
that's
just
what like I
soak it
want my
all.
son to learn it when he's like his age now. And even with my parents, I'm always like, just speak to him and they'll speak English. I'm like, no, just speak the language. Like, I wanted to know. But then they're like, but what if he knows more than you? I'm like, better.
Yeah,
Like, that's the more the better. I'd rather him know it all.
yeah, exactly. It's good.
Yeah. You have a poem called it's the poem to Black children, and I loved it because when I read it, it was one of those things that I wish I had seen more things like this growing up. I wish I had more resources to read things like that growing up because I love poetry. I'm very into it. I write my own and stuff like that as well. But yeah, I loved it, and I just wanted to know: is it what you would have wanted to hear growing up, or is it what you would like to pass on to the children that are in your life and around you?
Are you talking about the black child? Oh, we had a connection issue.
Sorry, yeah, it's sorry. Yeah, I was talking about the Black Child one.
Yeah, um, I think it's something that I want children to know. I think representation is important. I wish
Hmm.
I had those types of poetry growing up. I think that a lot of Black children have so much strength, and it's just because of the situations they find themselves in.
Hmm.
And automatically locked. Um, I would
Yeah,
love
my phone did
for
the same earlier.
Yeah, I have to like keep on pressing my phone so it doesn't close.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, especially for children growing up in the society where in some ways racism is in certain contexts and countries where
Mm.
saying racial slurs is so socially accepted
Hmm.
and people just feel comfortable saying these things. It's so
Hmm.
important for a black child to stand strong and to really have presence or have power in their presence,
Hmm.
you know, because if you're not going to have that power as a black child in a world that's not designed for you, you're
Yeah,
going to face a lot of challenges.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's hard as it is, you
mhm.
know.
And that's one thing that like I think now as a parent I have a newfound respect for my parents because aside from all the other challenges of parenting, it's like you raised black children in a predominantly white world and you raised us as
Yeah.
confident people and
Yeah.
you raised us to be the people we are today because me and my sisters are doing very well. So how do you now have to add that extra pressure onto everything else that they're going through and everything
Mm,
else they're having to learn themselves because they're essentially having to learn a whole new culture and then teach both cultures and like try and be like we need to teach them enough Western and our own culture
mm,
and do loads of other things and on top of that they still created strong like people that were confident in their skin and people that didn't hate the fact they were black and things like
mm.
that. So
Yeah.
it's a very, very big challenge. And yeah, your words were very, very powerful. And
Thank you.
I loved it. I loved it.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I did. There was another one. You had a poem, and the final line that you said in the poem, you basically summarized it as it was a remedy to a racist society.
Um,
I
uh,
can't remember the name. I couldn't. It was on the Instagram account, but you're
uh,
saying about how BLM is more than just a hashtag, and it's more
yeah,
than
yeah,
just
yeah.
a
Oh,
thing. Yeah.
I know
So
what you're talking about. I just can't give you the words right now. Black Lives Matter, it's more than a hashtag, but a sign of solidarity, the only remedy for racist society.
hmm.
Yes.
So, what brought you to that point? How would you summarize the remedy for a racist society?
Unity, togetherness, oneness.
Hmm.
I saw it at the Black Lives Matter movement, I mean, protest
Hmm.
at Holyrood, right?
Yeah.
Is it Holyrood? Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful, and I got so emotional
Hmm.
standing there and seeing just a lot of young people as well, which is
Yeah.
good because we are the generation that's supposed to bring change.
Hmm.
We need to, I think race needs to be reconceptualized.
Yeah.
I think the way we see each other needs to be deconstructed and rethought. Is that
Hmm.
even a word? Um, just because the divide and the us versus them construct
Yeah.
is very dangerous.
Hmm.
And it's not just black versus white. You get, intra-group differences. So differences within black communities. So really we need to understand each other.
Hmm.
We need to understand the differences and overcome that. But
Hmm.
that happens with honest conversation. And I think a lot of people aren't really ready for that type of conversation because it's painful to
Hmm.
firstly speak about, and then it's difficult to hear.
Yeah.
And for someone that doesn't experience racism, they have to rethink everything that they thought was normal because racism isn't just about language. It isn't
Mm.
just about calling someone a derogatory name. It's systematic, it's institutionalized, and it's
Hmm.
deeply embedded in the way we live our lives and the way
Yeah.
that we live in the society,
Hmm.
and the way that certain groups benefit from this privilege that serves to protect their interests but keeps a large group marginalized and oppressed.
Hmm.
So it's about having those conversations and really being brave to listen to the
Hmm.
pain and to really internalize that,
Hmm.
and then trying to move forward. But I don't think there's I don't really have the answer to how we
Yeah.
will move beyond a racist society. I think the first step is unity,
Hmm. Um,
because we can't do it on our own, you
yeah,
know.
I think that's the thing. It's not. a one man movement. It's not a thing that can be done by one person or one community or one group. Like, as much as it will take the Black community to commission it and to do all these things for the movement and for the community to make changes, but until those other communities are ready to listen and accept the conversations that are being had and accept
Yes.
and take accountability for the things that have been done and been said, then it's like talking to a brick wall, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same in South Africa. Sometimes,
Oh,
bless
sorry.
bless you. Um, in South Africa, sometimes you will hear people say, "Oh, black and colored people need to get over apartheid." Like,
Hmm.
no, we can't get over apartheid because the legacy of apartheid is still ever present in South
Yeah.
Africa. Black people are still living in poverty, black and
Hmm.
colored people. People are living in shacks with, you know, no running water,
Hmm.
no sanitation. They are still on the outskirts of the city. They can't access opportunity. So, no, we can't get over
Hmm.
apartheid because apartheid is still ever present in
Hmm.
our current lives. The way that spatial planning was planned out in during apartheid, where a lot of black and brown communities were put on the outskirts of the cities. Therefore,
Hmm.
they couldn't really access the city center and white areas.
Yeah.
So that, in a sense, have kept a lot of communities marginalized because they can't move out of
Hmm.
that cycle, you know? The
Hmm.
cycle of poverty just perpetuates itself and it's really difficult to break out of that cycle.
And like, even when that translates into like the Western world, it's like this is how they position the housing. This is how they put people in certain areas, and then you'll end up with like social housing areas. There'll be like really high, predominant like high areas of predominantly like Black communities or Asian communities and things. It's like we are populated in a place that white people won't get bothered or
Yeah.
won't be too integrated with this community and things like that. And then like even when you look at it, like what's happening in down south, and they have these places like Brixton and all these other places that were predominantly black populated places where they put them all when they landed and settled here, and now they're just throwing everyone out, building houses and just selling them cheaply to people
Mm,
that will have money, and they're gentrifying everything. And it's like you're not actually realizing what you're doing to these communities. You're just eradicating them
yeah. Do you
and just
know? I don't know if you heard about what happened in Cape Town with people that were forcibly removed during apartheid.
no.
So a lot of colored and black communities were forcibly removed from their homes, and a lot of them stayed in the city or the city
Hmm.
center of Cape Town, and then they were forcibly removed into the outskirts of
Hmm.
Cape Town, where a lot of the areas were very sandy. So when it rains a lot, the areas flood. So
Oh
it's very,
wow.
very flat.
Hmm.
Um, and because of that, a lot of so obviously it's like a domino effect. You take
Hmm.
people out of the CBD of the city,
Hmm.
then they can't access opportunities, therefore the unemployment is
Hmm.
high, and because of unemployment there's crime, there's drugs, there's gangsterism and so forth. So a lot of colored people and black people in Cape Town can take you around the city and say that's where I lived, that's where they forcibly removed me to put me on the outside
Wow.
of Cape Town. um, my family lived in an area called Simonstown in Cape Town,
Hmm.
just up in the mountains overlooking the Indian Ocean. Absolutely beautiful
Hmm.
area, which is mainly just for white. It's not for white people, but white people occupy the
Hmm.
space now. And we would drive past an area where there are the ruins of the homes
Hmm.
where people were taken out of, and they did nothing with that land. That land is just standing barren, and all those
Wow.
people are in areas in Cape Town which are ridden with crime, gangsterism, drugs,
Hmm.
and Oh, it just makes I get very worked up when I speak about it because it makes
Mm,
me really, really angry to know that a lot of South Africans are just kind of left where
yeah,
apartheid wanted them to be, and
yeah.
nothing's changed for them.
That's so sad because it's like,
It's so sad.
why would you ruin the land or ruin what they had to put nothing there?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just wasted land. It's just to prove a point.
Yeah. It's very difficult to I mean, and I'm sure for my mother and my grandmother even more so difficult because for me driving past those areas and seeing the ruins of homes and knowing the lived realities of these people now, yeah,
Hmm.
it can bring a tear to your eye for sure.
Ah, that's so sad. Bless them, man. Um, so how long have you been in Scotland for? When did you come from South Africa?
Last year, June, yeah.
Okay, and how have you found your experience?
Yeah, I love Edinburgh. I think Scotland's absolutely beautiful. My husband
Hmm.
and I actually went on a little road trip about a week and a half ago. So we went up to Thurso, saw Aviemore,
Hmm.
Coldingham Bay. So yeah, I did a bit of a road trip to see more of the
Cool.
country and
Mm.
just fell in love with Scotland a little bit more because it's so beautiful. And
Hmm.
I mean, I really had no idea that Scotland had all this beautiful landscape and
Yeah,
high mountains and beautiful beaches that, you'd think you'd only find in the warmer islands or something. But
yeah.
oh, what
I
a
think that's one thing about Scotland is that there's a lot of land and there's a lot of open space, and that's the good thing about it. And it's there's loads to do. But I think when you've been here for, I don't know, because I feel it personally, I think I've been here for too long now. I'm like, I need more busy pace and I need more fast life and I need to see something different and whatever.
mm. Oh, really? I like
Yeah.
Edinburgh. I like the chilled vibe that Edinburgh has. It's very similar to Cape Town. Cape Town's a very slow way of life. It's not like
Okay.
Johannesburg, which is very fast paced, or like
Hmm.
London. London is really fast paced, you know?
See, I'm
Uh,
always like on 100. I'm always like go, 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 go.
yeah,
Like I'm always busy doing
exactly.
something.
Yes. Whereas
So
in
that's probably
Edinburgh,
why I'm like this.
yeah. Whereas in Edinburgh, you can just kind of be still and take in
Hmm.
the beautiful surroundings. Edinburgh is a beautiful city. It's a
Yeah.
lot of green spaces. It's very compact, so it's easy to walk around. It's
Yeah.
safe, which is great because I come from a city which is not very safe.
Ish.
Yeah, you have to be on alert all the time in Cape Town. You have to watch your back. So it's nice to
Yeah.
kind of not have that worry constantly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And well, obviously it's been very positive, but have you had any racial experiences while you've been here?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No, yeah, not one. Maybe people have, so my husband's white.
Hmm.
So maybe people have had little thoughts in their head, but
Hmm.
they've never verbalized it.
Yeah.
Um, no, people have been very nice
Okay.
to me.
And have you?
Even though I'm usually like the only brown person, like the
Hmm.
black person in some of the spaces sometimes. And I'll be honest with you, in the beginning, that was very intimidating because I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
Because in Cape Town's a little bit more diverse. So
Yeah.
I, when I first got here, I was thinking, where are all the black people?
Did you manage to find them?
At the BLM protest, I was like,
I was
oh,
actually going to ask you because obviously you've only been here for a year, so you're still very, very new in
yeah,
Edinburgh. But the one thing is, Edinburgh has a very, very big South African community. So yeah, hopefully you can connect and you
yeah.
can get yourself in there. My next question was going to be how have you found it, either finding the South African community or the Black community within Edinburgh.
Yeah, I haven't really met any other South Africans. I sometimes hear the accent every now and then. Um, but same thing, haven't met any black people. The very first time I saw a big group of black people was at the protest, but
Hmm.
that was it. And maybe at the church I went to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's it's I'm quite a shy person, so I won't
Hmm.
necessarily go up to someone and just be like, "Hey, can you be my friend?" Is there
Yeah.
anyone? So, I kind of wanted to happen organically and naturally.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been interesting being here, and it's nice to know that there is a bigger community of black
Hmm.
people than what I thought. Because honestly, when I first got here, I thought I was like the only person.
Yeah, everyone thinks that when they come here, they're like, "There's no one here.
Yeah,
How do you find each other? Where do
yeah,
you go?" And
exactly.
everyone gets so shocked. But even I, like, I've been in Scotland almost 20 years now, so I was shocked by the amount of people at the protest, and that was one thing for me. I was like, there was a lot of people there that I knew, and a lot of people there that I've grown up with, and I've seen about growing up and like being in Scotland and stuff. But there was a lot of people that I didn't know, and that was the one of like, I've never seen you in Edinburgh in my life. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen you about, I've never seen you ever. But it was so nice to see everyone like come together and show themselves and show their faces. And what was quite nice was it was a few people that had come up to us afterwards, and they'd come from like all over Scotland and
Mm.
traveled just to come down for the day and things like that. Being like, oh, glad that like black voices are being heard in Scotland, and
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Because even when I come down south, like a lot of the times when people like find out that I live in Scotland, they're like, is there more than like you live in Scotland as a black person? How is it? Like, are you okay? How does that go down? Like they just get so confused by it, and I'm like, we live normal life.
Yeah, yeah, right. Exactly.
Like we're not as free as you guys might be, but like we can just get on with
Yeah,
it.
we're good. We're good.
We're
Yeah,
surviving, it's fine.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I honestly, I've learned a lot about Scotland's kind of involvement within the slave trade.
Hmm.
I found your conversation with Courtney extremely interesting and what she did her thesis on.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm still learning a lot about Scottish history, and I think it's very empowering that
Hmm.
people are speaking about it, and not
Yeah,
just Black people.
yeah.
There's definitely a desire from other groups to learn more and correct the injustices of the past.
Mm, mm. That's so true. And even with me, I think why I was so the first time I started looking into like Scottish history and stuff was in college, and it wasn't until a teacher had said it, and I was like, "So you mean to say you could have taught this the whole way through like high school history, but no one wanted to?" And they were like,
Mm,
"Yes, it's up to our discretion. Like we get to choose." And I was like,
mm.
"Wow, like
Yeah.
wow."
Yeah. It really starts in school because the curriculum is kind of what shapes our minds,
It really
and
does.
history is taught.
It's a big, big thing. I've just got the notification saying that we only have just under a minute and a half left.
Okay.
So, I'll wrap this up. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on, and
Oh,
yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you
having me.
for being a guest and your education that you've taught everyone and brought to the episode today. And
Thank you.
if there's anything you want to say to the viewers, let them know.
Yeah, well, thanks to those who have joined the live, and yeah, just spread love and peace
Hmm.
and just be nice.
Yeah, be
Yeah,
nice, be happy, be positive.
yeah, just be nice to people. It really costs you nothing.
Legit,
Yeah.
not a penny. Is it okay for me to put your Instagram onto the video so that people can
Yeah,
follow you for your
absolutely.
poetry? Yeah,
Yeah.
so everyone have a look at her poetry, listen to her spoken words. Her voice is very soothing. It's nice.
Oh, thank
So
you.
you have a very good spoken word voice. I think because I listen to it, so I'm like, you have a good voice for spoken words. So
Oh,
I appreciate it.
thank you. It's the drama classes I went to for all those years.
Well, they did good. They did
Yeah,
very
they
good.
did. They did really good.
All right, well, see you soon, all
All
right?
right. Thank